Hello, everyone. Welcome in to Forechecking TV. We're on season 1, episode 6 here. Welcome in. Getting through the playoffs here. More teams being eliminated every week as we go here, so we're ready to talk about it. Joining me as always is Doug. We got Scotty missing from tonight. He's got some other things going on with his sports world, so we wish him the best of luck. We got the Hockey Troll joining us here tonight. How you doing, man?
Good man, good man. Thanks for thanks for the invite. I didn't know that I was a substitute for one of your regular guys though, so I
No,
get
not at
it.
all.
I mean,
We have a special guest every week, so you are a special
oh,
pick this week, man.
oh fuck yeah, I'm coveted. That's great.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Let's start where we're at. Let's just cover the one series that's playing right now. It's 3-1 Tampa Bay over Carolina. Carolina's got to win tonight to remain in the playoffs. So let's discuss this one, how it's looked so far. You guys take it away. Let's see what we got.
Well, I mean, first of all, Tampa Bay, I had counted them out against Florida in the first round. They shoved that, right up my hoop. Um, and then I was like, okay, well, maybe Carolina can get one over on them, but they absolutely look like world beaters after taking care of Florida in quick in pretty quick order. And honestly, the some of the games that Tampa Bay won in that first round were not particularly close. So I've got Tampa here.
Doug?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also going Tampa. The big thing that I keep saying is I don't think there's a single team in the remainder of this playoff that can touch their depth scoring. I mean, your center depth down the middle, I mean, is crazy because you have like Braden Point, Anthony Cirelli, Yanni Gord, and then I think Matthew Joseph centers the fourth line. But like, it's even crazier because like they've finally gotten so deep that Stammer can just play wing. And that's something that is just so dangerous. I've talked about this before when I've gone on gotten into like Leaf stuff. Like at some point John Tavares is gonna have to play the wing. It's just with Stammer, he's doing it probably 5 to 7 years earlier than he probably needed to, but it's going to benefit him in the longevity of his career in the long run for sure.
What do you guys think of the whole cap manipulation debacle? I mean, Kucherov, who's like he's like a $9 million player, right? I mean, whether he's getting paid that or not, he's definitely over cap. They say he's hurt, a month before the playoffs, he's still hurt, but he's like, quote unquote, slowly coming back. And then playoffs start, cap doesn't matter, and then boom, everybody's just like full steam ahead. And this has happened before, like with Chicago, but I think this is a pretty egregious example. That they're playing by the rules, they really are, but it's a little shady, no?
Yeah, I think that it's a lot shadier than the Chicago debacle because, obviously they've done it with more than one guy. Like Hossa is probably the most memorable one with like literally they described it as this like weird skin infection, but like literally it's like Marian Hossa had eczema. Like that's all it was, And then
well, I'd heard though that was actually a pretty bad thing, whatever it was.
Really?
I had, but who actually knows? I mean, yeah, to your exact point, like I don't know, but I, like you said, this is a pretty egregious one with Tampa Bay, right? I mean, you're thinking this is probably the worst in recent memory, right?
Yeah, probably just because of like the players they were able to bring back with the cap savings they had. Because at the time that they made the decision to put Kuch on LTIR, they had no idea what they were going to do with Sergachev or Cirelli, and
Right.
that's two of the most important depth pieces right there. And they were able to bring them back. And I mean, honestly, though, like it's played by the rules. I'm sure it's going to change at some point within the next CBA. But I mean, for instance, I wouldn't be surprised if the Penguins did it next year with Malkin. Because he's getting his knee done. He just got his knee done, and if things don't progress right away, where he can't play like in like November, I wouldn't be surprised if they just LTIR'd him in August and brought in a couple other guys to fill holes.
Well, at that point, it'd be absolutely egregious, and
Yeah.
they should make immediate action and probably just force the whole team to fold. Move the team out of Pittsburgh, just dissolve it altogether. We've got a new expansion, just dissolve it. Knock the arena down, make it a multi-story parking garage. God knows that fucking town needs more parking. So
I had to get you going. The league's punishment would be they have to trade Jake Gensel to Anaheim for Nick Deloria.
Oh my God. Not to get off topic either, but if everyone's watching the game, what a great save on the shorthand by Vasilevsky, and then Braden Point made Nedeljkovic look like he was on butter. And a power play goal, so. And they have Carolina's got a power play coming up because Tampa's on a delayed penalty right now. 1-0 Tampa.
It's crazy, man. I just don't think anybody's going to be able to stop the Lightning. Go ahead, Troll.
Yeah, they look really good. But what about Colorado? Which I guess that's the next one we're going to talk about.
That's our next one. Yep. Yeah. Let's do that. We're tied 2-2. Colorado and Vegas. So let's go ahead. Let's do it with that one.
I still have Colorado here. I just fucking can't stand Vegas. They were handed just as many favors as the Pittsburgh Penguins to get their team off the ground. And, it's just, it's the fans are insufferable. I really just have no patience for fucking Vegas or their fans. I know that's like super, probably, I'm probably in the minority in that because, they do such a good job with their marketing and everything. But yeah, I've got Colorado here purely out of hate. But also they look good. I mean, McKinnon is insane. I saw a meme that he is what Matthews and McDavid should have been in the playoffs. So, good for him. They have a lot of depth as well. And their blue line is stacked, right? I mean, Gerard, Makar, a lot of offensive tools back there. Plus, former Cap, Grubauer hanging out in net, Vezina finalist there this year. So we could have used him, but
yeah, I still think Colorado has this. Nathan McKinnon is in the midst of one of the best individual playoff performances we've seen in years. I think the only thing that comes close, at least in recent memory, is probably the early 2000s Duck teams with Paul Correa, where he would literally just drag the Ducks kicking and screaming through a couple playoff rounds.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I want Colorado to succeed. I want them to win because, like Troll brought up with their defense is stacked. And then their third pairing, whenever everybody's healthy, is going to be Bowen Byram and Connor Timmins, which is unbelievable just in terms of depth and drafting. And I mean, the fact that the Avs, that Joe Sakic was able to turn a disgruntled and angry Matt Duchene into Bowen Byram and Sam Girard is just nuts.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of biased as an Avs fan, but I obviously want them to win. I mean, I feel like though, because I'm more than just a fan of one team, as I know Doug especially knows. I'm not necessarily a bandwagon, but I root for other teams that are in just mostly the hometowns most of the time. Colorado is my team, but I feel like if Vegas would move on out of that series, that would be the team I would ride rooting for the Stanley Cup. Like whoever's coming out of that West is who I'm rooting for the Stanley Cup, whether it be Colorado or Vegas. Honest to God, hope it's Colorado, but if that's not the case, I would ride Vegas just because I don't know. I have a strong disliking for Boston, which we're going to get to next. I was okay with Tampa last year because they were playing Dallas because I don't like Dallas either. But this year, I don't know. I think somebody else should beat Tampa. That's just my opinion. I think somebody can. They just got to figure them out. And that's the hard part.
About Tampa, though, I mean, if they go back to back here, I mean, that's 2 Asterix cups in a row, right? I mean, does that equal 1 cup? Does that equal 1.25 cups? Like 1.37? I don't know. I don't think that they're full. I mean, I think if last year was an asterisk cup, this year is definitely an asterisk cup, right? Uh, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say they were as bad as lockout years, but pretty damn close with like a 56 game series or a season. So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I know Doug and I talked about this before. Being even if they would go back to back, I'm just going to do this real quick, and then Doug, you can go. Even if they would go back to back here, come next season, Tampa's going to have to make moves. They're going to have to dump some people to be within the cap. So, and obviously we've talked about who they're going to have to lose in the expansion. We've talked about the issue with them having to try to trade what they can to give up Tyler Johnson. But Tampa's not going to have all the weapons they have currently. If with the cap the way it is next season, they're going to have to give some people up. Now, I know Doug said there is some talent in the minors they're going to bring up, but still they're not going to have the current guys that they have all together. Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to do a lot of finagling, but I think that, similar to how JT Miller got unloaded to Vancouver, somebody's going to give you a legitimate asset for like someone like Yanni Gourde. And then, I mean, Tampa has the ability to just trade Seattle a shitload of assets to take on a bad contract or two, because, and that's the thing with like teams like Toronto, the Penguins, Tampa, they have the ability to do this. Now, the Penguins, not as much because, I mean, Jim Rutherford literally nuked everything they had in terms of like trading assets because, of course, but, Tampa's going to have the ability, like both Tampa and Colorado specifically are going to have the ability to get rid of the guys they need to get rid of to succeed big picture, just because of the trade assets they have, because of how well they've done it, like home growing talent. They haven't had to make a ton of trades. Notably, the only big trades that they've made in the past like 2 to 3 years were getting Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow, and that was pretty much it. I mean, the Savard trade was big, but like it fulfilled a need,
Right. Fair enough. I just wanted to know if you guys. Well, do you think it's an asterisk cup or not? Is this year an asterisk or no?
I mean, here's the thing that's tough. It's like if they do go back to back and it's another just like Monopoly Cup type deal, I mean, that looks, obviously they're going to say it looks great on their resume because they have 2 cups, but like to the public eye, man, that looks really shady because they finally won in a pandemic, which I was making the joke all last summer. They were finally going to run it back in a pandemic when nobody could be around them because, of course, because like for at least 8 years now, we've been talking about Tampa Bay as this team who is just has the potential to be a complete dynasty, and they never put it together.
Right.
And I mean, I would say this is an asterisk cup because even though it was legal, they committed cap circumvention to make it happen. So, it's tough.
Fair enough.
I know the next one we wanted to go on before we get to the embarrassment one. Let's talk Boston and the Islanders. They're 3-2 right now in favor of the Islanders, which I know some of us didn't expect. The Islanders playing them very well compared to the last series Boston had. Boston kind of took advantage of that series, and then this series they're having a little bit more trouble. So let's touch on this one here. With the Islanders up 1 game right now, could they close it in 6, or is this going to 7?
Man, my bias says they're closing it in 6, but my brain probably says this goes to 7. So the big thing here is that Boston is not a team that is, at this stage of their franchise is going to lay down and give you a game. I think that they're the same shit, man. Every game you play against the Boston Bruins, you know exactly what you're going to get. And it's just varying degrees, like a standard deviation of like 0.5, like a half a notch better, half a notch lower. I guess in some cases you could have those games where they stand out and they're amazing. But I think that honestly, Barry Trotz has basically just come in and worked his magic on the Islanders. And I think they're going to take this series either in 6 or 7, but would love to see it in 6. I think that the, and this is going to sound totally ridiculous, but whatever. I think that of all of the, there's two things of all of the series that the Capitals have lost in recent memory. So like the past decade or so, this one I feel the least bad about. And I also think that we lost to the worst opponent that we've played, or that has kicked us out of a playoff in the past probably 10 years. So my reasoning behind that is that Boston's a top heavy team, though they are starting to get some secondary scoring. That's great. But, you can't win with one stacked line. It's very rare that ever happens, past like the 60s or 70s. So they're kind of playing an old, just the way that their roster is designed and how they've got the lack of scoring that in the top or in the depth chart. So that's one reason. And then, two, the reason that I don't think that we're really, it was a bad beat was because the Caps were super injured in the first round. So anyways, all that to say, Islanders in 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'm going Islanders in 6. I want to see the roof pop off the Coliseum. And most importantly, the content guy inside of me needs more Frankie Borelli going batshit crazy about the Islanders. I love it. I think it's amazing. These live streams that they've been doing where he just goes absolutely nuts are incredible. Like, for instance, my brother texted me and he was like during the Penguins series, he was like, "Oh, I couldn't watch the game, but I knew that they lost because I was on Twitter and just saw Frankie Borelli screaming." And that was the Jarry double OT game, man. And he was like, "So how bad was it?" And I was like, "Well, how much time do you have?" Because dude, that was a bad night. We recorded it right after that game, and you might have to go back and look at it because normally I'm calm and reserved, but I went like completely mental over Tristan Jarry.
Wait, so are you not happy with Jarry's performance?
I mean, I'm just not happy with how we got here, with the fact that Jarry had to put on that performance. I was a very big
future.
No, I was a very big supporter of the other goaltender.
Oh, Matt Murray.
Yeah, I was a big Matt Murray guy. I think that
yes, you were.
If you put Matt Murray with the defense the Penguins had, they at least beat the Islanders.
But I look at
potentially more
to that, Doug, that when you had, I'm not going to throw back to this because I don't agree that with anything I'm about to say, but when you had Fleury on the Penguins, okay.
Oh no,
Fleury was choking. Obviously, Murray was the better goaltender. But in any case, even if you're not talking about the Penguins, when you have two solid goaltenders that obviously they all have their off days, Fleury, we call them Fleury days, where he flurries a game. Do you think that Murray, just like any other goaltender, is playing more competitively because he has to fight to earn that spot as a starter over a goaltender that's been that goaltender, the number one, for how long now? Murray might have slacked off a tad because he knew his competition was not good enough to take his place.
So this is my response to this. And I think anyone would tell you, anyone within the Penguins organization would agree with me. Fleury and Murray played very well off of each other, and Fleury was always in Murray's corner. So no matter what, if let's say Murray was in net and he was having a shit game, Fleury would be over there with him being like, "Hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I think you need to improve on." They just really coached each other up and helped each other out. And I think a lot can be said with the Caps in 18 with Holtby and Grubauer. I think that they both played very well off of each other. And I think that as we get into this next decade of hockey, into the 2020s, you're going to need two good goalies to win a Stanley Cup. Like you're going to need a good tandem to be able to come in and play well off of each other and pick each other up, because we're to a point now where I don't see a way that one single goaltender can win 16 games with the way the playoffs are.
Right. I always have this rule that for a Stanley Cup winning team, the goalie has to, or that position has to steal 4 games within a cup run. So that could be all in the first round or whatever. It doesn't matter what round it happens. It just needs to 4 games need to be somewhat stolen to keep your team in it, just because the league's so fucking good. A goalie has to stand on his head, or that position needs to stand on their head for like 4 games and steal a game 4 times for you to win a cup. But it's interesting. You bring up Holtby and Grubauer, but both of those goalies are elite. Murray, Jari, and Fleury are not. They're just fucking garbage. I mean, I was high on Jari. I had thought that it was the right move to get rid of Murray. I didn't think Matt Murray was a good goaltender outside of like a 20-game spat where he was just off his, he's just channeling the nether at that point. And it happened twice. So it's obvious that he can bottle that. But then he also got injured a bunch, and it was just like, trade stock was down. I thought it was time for him to go, but also the shitty fans of Pittsburgh were terrible to that guy too.
Yeah.
On the coattails of Marc-Andre Fleury, like these fucking Yinzer mouth breathers, when they just couldn't give him the time of day.
I could honestly do an entire case study on how people react to Fleury no longer being here. It's absurd. Like, I swear I've seen people mourn over family members less than people have mourned over Marc-Andre Fleury in the past 4 years.
Yes.
I just don't get it, man. It's pathetic.
All right, that's amazing, but I guess we should move on.
Well, the last one, obviously, we're talking about. I'm gonna hold this up for the last time we're gonna see this season, and if you're a fan, you should be embarrassed a little bit. The Montreal swept you in the second round, and I know Doug touched on this. I'm gonna let him take this because I'm not gonna kill his thunder, but if the Jets can go do what they did in round 1 and then do what they did in round 2, there's no comparison. But Doug, I'll let you take that. I'm not going to steal your thunder.
Yeah, the truth is the Montreal Canadiens sweeping the Winnipeg Jets really isn't as telling of the Jets as much as it is telling of how god awful the Edmonton Oilers are. I can't believe it, man. I've always wondered what the Penguins would look like if they never traded Jordan Staal. And then I watch an Edmonton game with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins just running around doing nothing as their depth piece. And I know why they fucking traded Jordan Staal every single time. But yeah, it's a mess, and speaking of goalie stealing games, Carey Price finally getting his due in the playoffs.
Has he ever been to a conference final?
I don't know. They were a couple years back, but it was a really, really quick exit. I think it was 5 games that they lost in. I don't remember what year that was, but a couple years back, I think it might have been the years they made it to the final and lost.
Okay.
But yeah, and the nice thing about Montreal is they have all those young guys, and they all know how to play playoff hockey. They all know how to show up and rise to the occasion. Everybody talks about just Barry Kotkaniemi being a draft bust, but He's had way better playoff numbers than some of the guys that he was drafted alongside, and then everybody was worried about Cole Caulfield's size coming into this postseason. And then he makes that amazing pass in overtime to Tyler Toffoli to end the series. I mean, these guys are rising to the occasion and they're stepping up big for their team. And my big thing is like Suzuki and Kotkaniemi are both so good that you almost forget about Philip Danault. And he's one of the more shut down centers in the league. And they're basically allowing him to just come in and be a role player now where he can go up against a team's most productive line, whether it be their top line or second line, and just shut them down.
Yeah, and I mean he doesn't do the flashy stuff, right? He doesn't score all the goals or make the like beautiful plays, but he's pitching in every time he hits the ice for sure. Trevor, did you want to say something? I didn't know if you looked like you were about to there.
Montreal, it's just you don't like I said. We talked about this with Colorado and Vegas. You'd love to see a team like Montreal, the way they're set up, because even if you were a person who, I mean, all of us watch hockey enough and look into hockey, know the contracts, know the players. But if you're one of the people who just watch the games, if you're like let's say you're not necessarily a newcomer, one of those people who just watch games, when you look at Montreal, you're like, in your mind, I don't know anybody on this team except Carey Price. You know what I mean? Like we do, because we study hockey, we watch it. But if you're a guy who just watches hockey, doesn't look into anything further than just watching the games, the only player you're going to know on that roster is Carey Price. And
right,
in those people's eyes, they're like, how in the hell does a team like Montreal get to basically the semifinals when they have complete nobodies? Which they're not nobodies. They're players that are completely showing up all-stars because they're the new and upcoming. They're players that are almost, you could say, underrated because they're a lot better than they're a lot better than what they're actually made out to be. And they're out here proving everybody wrong to beat players like Mark Scheifele, which of course didn't play all series because of what happened. But you're beating players like Nikolai Ehlers. You're taking out,
Hellebuck.
like you're taking out Toronto. You're taking Austin Matthews and everyone like that. You're taking them down with, well, you could say almost nobodies, which again, we know they're not, but I don't know. I mean, Montreal is basically, I hate to refer to another sport here, but basically that Cinderella team of a March Madness bracket. They're making a run and they're shutting all the top names down. I mean, you have, after the first round, how many top seeds did you have knocked out already just by everybody? I mean, you had the Penguins were knocked out as a 1 seed. Toronto was knocked out by Montreal as a 1 seed. Edmonton was taken down by a 3 seed, and then the 3 seed got shit on by a 4. Like Montreal's that Cinderella team, and I'll be damned right now if they went to the finals over anybody in that West for some wild twist that they would beat either Colorado or Vegas. Fuck it, I'm a Montreal fan for the finals. Damn it, like seriously, like let's get Montreal at that point. I'll fucking have a jersey.
Right.
So what we've learned is that the Montreal Canadiens are Loyola Chicago, and Marc Bergevin is Sister Jean.
You're damn fucking right,
dude. And think about the journey though of the Montreal Canadiens, right? Like they were like making all these moves and just basically being laughed at for the past 3 years. Like Bergevin's a fucking idiot. Like, oh, he's the roids have gone to his head or whatever that is, right? he makes all the, I am incredibly surprised. I think that Nick Suzuki is a stud. I think he's got an incredibly bright future. Cole Caulfield as well. Something that I completely forgot about. Tyler Toffoli has won a cup with LA. I had thought he came in a year after their cup runs. No, he won. He was a big contributor too. And that's a low-key guy is a constant like 40 to 60, 40 to 50 point per year guy. And he's having a great season this season. Obviously had the OT game winner to sweep. Yeah, I mean they look good. They look well coached as well. Honestly, having Carey Price never hurts, but it's interesting to see. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting to see. But I think we need to address here the elephant in the room, and that's Scheifele, who was Winnipeg's leading scorer.
Mm-hmm.
out for look, I'm a there it is. The Shifley jersey. I'm gonna be honest here, man. I mean, look, terrible result of the hit, and that sucks. That really does suck. But Paulie and I talked about it on our podcast, and it's like, dude, I was telling Paulie, like, Paulie, if you wouldn't have made that exact play in college, I would have been chirping you on the way back to the bench, calling you like a fucking lazy bitch, because you've got to take the body there. People are like, well, you could, go in with the stick and then follow through with the body, or you could dive into the net or something weird like that. But the highest percentage play there is to try to scare the puck holder and basically take the body and finish it off. There's so many variables when you're chasing a puck. I cannot blame anything. The only thing that I can say about the Shifley hit was that it was a little high, and that's a no-no. So I think he did make some head contact there. Unfortunately, Jake Evans got very injured and it looked just terrible. I don't even think they said he didn't go to the hospital though. He just got his bell rung and knocked out momentarily and stretchered off. But they said even after all that, he didn't go to the hospital. I'm glad that he didn't have to go to the hospital, but if we're gonna, there's the problem with what I had with the suspension and however all this is going is I feel it was completely predicated off of the result of the hit. And there's nothing there that the NHL has done to prevent it in the future. Jake Evans was eligible to be hit the entire time that play was going on, and players will continue to make that hit. And for Shifley, who's doesn't even get penalties, to get 4 games is absolutely batshit, man. I mean, what do you guys think that if he's in the lineup for Winnipeg that things change?
I mean, I think there's definitely a chance that things go better, because the big thing was like Shifley was a big part of like why that top line was going through the first round, because Pierre-Luc Dubois has been invisible the entire time since he got traded there from Columbus. And big thing I want to touch on the Shifley hit is everybody talks about how he started making strides at the other end of the ice, but it's like, how else are you going to stop him from scoring whenever there's nobody else around? You got to hustle down there and try and make something happen.
Yeah. And then the whole charge thing, which was new to me, which is weird, was it's not like if you're churning your feet, it's distance, and that makes sense, I guess. I mean, I feel like the fucking NHL rule book's written in pencil anyways. So they probably just erased it real quick and just like said, hey, this is what the rule says. I don't know. I mean, it is if I were a Winnipeg fan, I'd probably be way more upset than I am now, as far as, what could have happened if Shifley had played. Getting swept is one thing, but maybe they would have lost. But I mean, come on, save yourself the embarrassment. Losing 5, maybe. I don't know. When you hamstring the leading scorer you take the leading scorer of a team out, and I mean, I had Shifley and Ehlers on my fantasy team this year. They fucking carried me like to the semifinals of the playoffs.
Same here. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they were insane, dude. I think they had close to 100 points combined this season. It was insane.
I'll be honest with you. I made it to the finals with Shifley and Ehlers, and I got beat by a guy who used my own medicine against me. Every player that I dropped that wasn't producing, he picked up and they began producing. And he used that all against me to beat me in the final. Every single play. I dropped Savard, David Savard, he picked him up.
Yeah.
I dropped Drake Batherson, he picked him up. Like, it was one after another. And also, not to get off topic, but Tampa scored at the buzzer at the end of the first to try to make it 2-0, and the goal was under review. I don't think they made a clear declaration on it yet, though.
Interesting. But it is what it is with Montreal and Winnipeg. I mean, I'm surprised. Definitely a lot of drama this postseason, and that's why this is the best sport to watch at the best time. You can't say anything better about the NHL playoffs. I mean, this is the best championship tournament probably in all of pro sports.
Yeah. Not this is to get off topic to a different team. It's not in the playoffs any longer. They were. Doug mentioned before the show that he wanted to speak a little bit about Minnesota, the Minnesota Wild. So, Doug, I'll throw this one to you now. Go ahead.
All right. So I saw a poll this morning that was put up by our buddy State of Hoppy Troll. Yeah. So it said, if you had to trade one of them, who are you trading? It's like Kevin Fiala, Joel Eriksson Ek, or Kirill. And it's like all that just to keep Matt Dumba. I don't know, man, because like I feel like you could trade Matt Dumba and maybe another piece with him just to clear money out, and you might be able to get a center.
Dumba is, well, it's like top tier defensemen are both expensive and rare, right? Highly sought after on the trade block for sure.
Yeah.
As a Caps fan, I know all too well the value of a veteran defenseman. But I don't see them trading their rookie, the guy who's probably going to win the Calder. And I don't see them trading a guy that they sought after pretty heavily in Kevin Fiala, and is kind of like a piece that they were missing for a long time, that top end young scoring wing, right? So I didn't vote in it. I saw the poll, but I didn't vote in it because I was like too torn. I'm thinking it's Eriksson Ek though. I just feel like he doesn't have the name brand recognition that the others do, and they don't have as much invested in him, if that makes sense. Because
I get
it. He's not a first round pick, is he?
I think he is. Yeah, it's just it's
really?
one of those things where it's kind of like another Mikko Koivu situation, where perfect situation. He's a third line center on a championship winning team, but with the way Minnesota is, he has to be their number one.
Right.
So, I don't know, man. I think that I'm going to go off the board and be like, they should trade Dumba, because, I mean, you still have Suter and you still have Jared Spurgeon, who are still both really good top end defensemen. And I think you could get a top end center out of Dumba, Like, the thing is just trying to find a fit, but like they need a number one center who signed for a couple of years with cheap-ish term.
Like
they need some. Oh, dude, I don't know, man. We got into this pretty extensively, where it's like, what's the trade market going to be like for him? I could see doing like a Columbus hockey trade type deal for like Domi and maybe some other pieces, but like, I don't know, man. I just don't, just because of like everything that's happened with him recently. I mean, he broke COVID protocol a couple of times, right?
Yeah. Well, so they say that.
They claim it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing. Kuznetsov, a couple years ago got caught with blow, or what may or may not have been blow. And, because people just organize their powdered sugar in lines on a messy hotel, like fucking bed with like some passed out hooker in the fucking bed with them. But I think, and I shouldn't say hooker, I think it was actually like somebody's wife, but yeah. And then this season, okay, so since 2018, his possibly Conn Smythe, worthy performance in the playoffs, he's been dog shit. I mean, he's not dog shit, but it's very much the Evgeny Malkin syndrome, right? How good this player is. You've seen them completely take over seasons, games, playoffs, and then when they don't do that every day, you're kind of left scratching your head like, what the fuck, man? And I think that's what Kuznetsov has fallen victim of. Then this season, he and Ov and Orlov and Sammy were all, I don't know, eating borscht and drinking vodka in one of the rooms. and they get under the COVID protocol, but he actually catches it. Then late in the season, him and Sammy are like late to a team function, which I guess is breakfast or something, late to a team function meeting. And then he gets COVID again. Like he gets suspended by the team and then he gets COVID again. And then he comes back for the playoffs and is not very good. I want us to figure it out with Kuznetsov, but I feel like he might have worn out his welcome. We're not going to trade Samsonov, who is supposed to be our franchise goalie, and we have to keep him anyways for the expansion draft. But, yeah, I'm not. As far as trade stock goes, I mean, we were talking to Carl Alsner, and he was like, "Dude, it's crazy how negative press." I mean, look at Taylor Hall. Perfect example this year. Taylor Hall, he's in Buffalo. He's pouty. This is a guy that's like, what, 2-3 years away from taking the entire shit show that was the New Jersey Devils, put him on his back and take him to the playoffs.
Mhm.
This is an MVP of the league. And you're going to count him out in 2 years, 2-3 years, and say like, okay, well, yeah, this is not, he's never going to be good again. No, he goes to Boston. He's lighting it up. Right. I mean, he's doing well, at least as a rental. So trade. Yeah. I don't know. I have literally no idea what the Caps are going to do with Kuznetsov, and I'm not sure where the hell he's going to land, but I just hope that we get a good return for him if we do ship him.
Yeah, I think, I was just looking at his stats, and I think the Caps might be at a point where they might need to just take a year and bet on him, because he's been in the league 7 years. 5 of the 7 years have been 50 points or above, and 3 of them he scored at least 75 points. Like 18-19 and then 19-20, both back-to-back seasons, he was unreal. And I think they need to make it work with him, because they have some really good core pieces. Now, I don't know who you guys will end up losing in expansion, but like you have Anthony Mantha, Ovi's going to come back, God willing.
Right.
Wilson is, honest to God, Tom Wilson's a 30-goal scorer in this league when he's not being a shithead.
Right.
Like the team has potential to be okay. It's just they need to get Kuzi to buy back in and keep himself like on the wagon.
Yeah. The thing is that if it comes down to it, and the Caps do need to move someone, they're not moving Laviolette. If it's a coaching problem, if it's they're not moving him. We just got him, and it was clear that we needed him. So, and Lavi gets to move one key player. It's like every GM gets one coaching change. I feel like every veteran coach gets to do like one fucked up thing to the lineup, whatever it is. So, yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, it's a shitty, it's the worst. It's a bad conundrum for the off season, and a really bad look for the Caps, because like you said, when we have Kuznetsov and he's even playing like 75%, 80%, we have a Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Lars Eller 1-2-3 punch. And then we have Nick Dowd as the fourth line center, which you can't hate that. I mean, the guy's chipping in offensively and he's winning faceoffs. So brutal.
Yeah.
But.
And I mean, with the Caps, that fourth line is really, really good. I was surprised. Honestly, I think it rivals the Blueger line really well. I mean, I know a lot of stats and analytical communities like really hype up the Penguins fourth line, but like I really like what the Caps have going there.
I like the physicality, right? I mean, that's they're out there to beat people up and then keep the puck in your own zone and play keep away. Though it's like every 2 cycles they funnel a puck to the net, and towards the end of the season they were cashing in on those, which is awesome to see. I mean, that's exactly what you want from a fourth line. And I definitely think that they did a decent job shutting down that quote unquote perfection line. So they shared duties with Lars Eller's line there at the end, but then we were just too sapped, too beat up to to really do any good matching up of lines. But yeah, I mean, I hope they. I mean, they're locked in. They're cheap. I mean, Hags, Hathaway, and Dowd. I don't think any of them makes more than like 1.5 million. So uh, they'll be there for a while. So yeah.
I had
Yeah,
one
definitely.
one thing to bring up too, you guys. I want to talk about it the last couple of shows we did, but there's been a lot of playoff stuff going on to bring it in. Some of these teams that a lot of us would consider, bad, they haven't been great at all over these past couple of years that kind of were lighting it up at the end of the season, right before the playoffs. I'm talking
Mhm.
teams that were a little bit. I wouldn't say we underestimated, but they did a lot better than we expected them to. Teams like Detroit, the Rangers turned it around. They almost would have made playoffs if Panarin wouldn't have been destroyed. Maybe it's a possibility. And you had a team like what I wanted to say, Ottawa. Ottawa didn't finish last in the North. They almost, if Calgary wouldn't have had those last couple games to play with Vancouver, they would have finished in 5th out of the 7th, right below Montreal. And as we said, Montreal was the last team to make the playoffs. And Ottawa, say, might have had a chance. They were getting closer to having a chance because they had a better team this year. So what I wanted to basically put out to you guys is some of those teams that have been pretty terrible over the last couple of years. We've seen a few of them kind of turn it around at the end of the season. What do you think's in store for some of those teams like a Detroit or Ottawa come next season?
I think the Rangers will make the playoffs next year, and I think the Penguins are out. So that's just me. I see
Listen.
Doug's already over there like, nah. The Penguins shouldn't have made the playoffs this year. They shouldn't have made the playoffs 2 years ago. I don't know what the fuck happened. Having the shortened season benefited the Penguins the most out of all the teams in the NHL. And then on top of that, they had like the easiest second half of the entire league. Like it's crazy. But no, I think the Rangers make the playoffs next year. Honestly, I think Ottawa still got ways to go, but honestly, it depends on what they do in the offseason. I don't think they're ready to make any crazy moves, but they got a ton of cap to throw around. And then, you look at a team like New Jersey and you're like, I don't know yet. I can't give it to them so far. I think that they're in a bit of turmoil. They need to figure some things out in the Metro at least. And up north, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably my hot take there. I'm more Metro focused at this point.
Doug, how about you?
I really like where Ottawa is at in their rebuild. Just given like the ownership and like how Pierre Dorion has been at times in the GM role, they've done really, really good. And, they have another top 10 pick this year. Guys are going to slide, not simply because of the draft, not because the draft class is deep per se, but like there's so many teams that have oddly specific needs within like the lottery that they might be able to get a damn good player at 10th overall,
I think they're going to get
say what you're going to say.
Do you think they're going to go after a goalie? Ottawa.
Dude, if Jesper Wallstedt doesn't get drafted 6th overall by Detroit, Ottawa has to be chomping at the bit at that, because I've read some articles and I've seen some videos that have said that he's more NHL ready than Spencer Knight and Yaroslav Askarov both were on their draft night. And seeing how Spencer Knight was at times this year for the Panthers and in the playoffs, you have to be going for that.
Sure. No doubt.
You know,
Interesting.
because like I feel like that's the last piece of the puzzle. Like that's the last part of the process, is finding a goalie that can be their franchise guy.
Right. I always like to build the team from the net out, but you can't always do that, especially when you're the Ottawa Senators in the way that they've done it. So yeah.
And the TK, go ahead.
No, you go. You go ahead.
All right. The Rangers are going to turn heads next year. They're going to be really, really good. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors that they're going to get in on Jack Eichel. I could see it. I don't know how they're going to do it without, doing something seismic. But I mean, the big thing for them is they're going to replace David Quinn, and it's probably going to be a coach who's more lean towards coaching younger players. And you're going to have a lot of good pieces. I mean, you're going to have Vitaly Kravtsov up there. Morgan Barron's another one of their young guys who is highly touted, who's going to come up and probably do big things for them in their bottom six. And then, you have Keandre Miller, guys like that, Ryan Lindgren on defense as well, that are going to help turn this thing around. And we just talked about building from the net out, but like out of all the teams that are like in a rebuild or close to playoff contention, they probably have the best goalie of the bunch in Igor Shesterkin. So
yeah, I agree. And Georgiev is a good 1-2 punch. They have like two young good goalies. And another defenseman I'll throw in is there's like Adam Fox. That kid looks like a fucking stud.
Yeah.
I don't know. New York's scary, man. I know that just from their matchups with the Caps this year and in the past couple years, that's been quite a rivalry in the past, Caps Rangers, but they do not match up well against us as far as or we do not match up against them very well. They're speedy, they move the puck, they're super creative, and things just fall for them sometimes. I mean, they're good, and their goaltending is really good.
What I wanted to throw out to you guys is and this is still a little early, but if you had to, based on who's left and where things are going, if you had to make your Stanley Cup final prediction right now, who is it?
I think smart money's on Tampa, Colorado. Tampa again, at least. Though, I mean, if the Islanders somehow eke in there, or if Montreal ekes in, you're right, man. I got to go for the underdog. If the Islanders make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, I don't care who they're playing. I'm in Barry Trotz's corner. Same with, like you said, with Montreal. So
yeah. No, that's of course. If Montreal wouldn't play Colorado in a final, but if that was the case, I'd be rooting for Colorado. But But I'm with you. Either team, the underdog's going to get the vote for me unless Colorado's in there.
What about you, Doug?
This postseason has proven to me that I know nothing about hockey. So we're gonna go Islanders Canadiens Stanley Cup final.
Wow.
And
okay.
It is going to be, to the average fan, it's gonna be a snooze fest, but I'm gonna be loving it because I'm one of those people. I love like weird hockey. Like, for instance, the Stanley Cup final that got me into hockey was Carolina Edmonton in 2006. So like
post lockout. Wow.
Yeah, that was what got me into hockey. And I don't know, my brother just started watching it. He's like, I like the Hurricanes because Jordan Stahl's brother plays for the Hurricanes, and it's kind of like how we got into hockey. So
I don't know if I ever, Doug, do you know my dream Stanley Cup matchup at the conferences, or when the conferences are back?
No.
My dream Stanley Cup matchup, which is off the wall, involves one of your teams that you like, though, Doug. Would be out of the Western Conference comes Minnesota Wild, and out of the Eastern Conference comes the fucking Buffalo Sabres. That would be that's my dream Stanley Cup matchup is Minnesota Buffalo, because that's one of those things would be like everybody in the hockey world would be like, fuck it, these are two teams who never get there. Let's fucking root for both of them and see who the fuck wins. Like that's where I'm at.
The Islanders versus the Wild in a Stanley Cup final would be something to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. So real quick, we were talking about teams that are close in their rebuild, and we completely forgot about the Los Angeles Kings. They are close.
I was going to say that. I mean, where they got Byfield now.
They got
I mean-
Alex Turcotte too.
Yeah, who's their goalie?
Cal Peterson.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, he's decent.
interesting. Yeah. They I didn't get to watch a lot of dude, I mean, with the podcast and everything and how the divisions were this year and how accelerated the schedule was, I had very little time to be watching any other hockey, which is kind of a shame.
Mhm.
But I was really in my own little bubble with the Mass Mutual East
Mhm.
division, if you will. So I agree. I mean, maybe it's for these teams that are on the come, maybe it's better that there's these like kind of shortened seasons. Everybody kind of stays healthy. All the young guys are getting their, they're cutting their teeth, but they're staying healthy. And then, the draft happens in quick succession. So you're kind of gathering assets as well, like in NHL caliber players.
Yeah, I agree. And something just came across my phone this morning that the Kings are going like big game hunting. They're trying to get some star players in there, and I think that they're a dark horse team for Jack Eichel because they're so loaded that they could probably pull it off without touching Byfield or Turcotte.
Yeah. And who doesn't want to play in LA with, dude, did you guys read Sean Avery's book? Or I listened to it like book on like audio book.
I have not.
Okay. I mean, the worst part about Sean Avery's book and the audio book is that he narrates it. So that's terrible. But
Yeah, that is pretty bad.
yeah.
Oh, man.
But he's like, dude, LA is a fucking madhouse. Like, you're never going out on warm-ups, bucket off. It's like, or bucket on. Like you're always bucket off, like gel in the hair, like making sure everything looks good because you're in LA. And how beautiful it was, and you've access to movie stars and whatnot. So maybe Jack Eichel needs to get out of that hellhole that is Buffalo and come to a real city and reignite his love for the game.
Maybe.
I like it.
Any other last topics we want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, go Caps next year. I'm just super pumped. Thanks you guys again for inviting me on. This has been awesome to talk.
Yeah, well, we appreciate having you, man. As always, thank you for all of our viewers. We appreciate you guys. You can subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. There's the audio and video version, as always. But on behalf of myself, Doug, and our special guest, the Hockey Troll, thank you guys, and we will keep watching hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode. Have a good one, guys.